and thank you, Jean, for the invitation, the opportunity to talk in this meeting. And I was not aware that you are not going to completely embarrass me with your introduction. I'll be talking about engineering education continuum. I must admit I've prepared more than 2 slides, but I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have during my talk. I'll start by talking about engineering education in the academia. We are facing quite a huge change globally, and I will use the change that we are making at FECA as a case study, for example, to show that things can be done. And then I'll present my view why engineering education is essential for K-12. I'll try to answer 2 questions, why? And the second one is why now? Because I think there is a huge opportunity to do it right now. But before I continue, I would like to try and do a poll among all of you, a short poll. I would like to ask you a question, and for your opinion on how important it is to integrate engineering education in K-12. Please respond to the poll that appears on your screen. Do we succeed to vote?
כולם מצליחים להצביע, לראות את הסקר?
כמה זה חשוב.
I'm repeating the question.
כן, רק קשה לעשות סדנית.
כי יש לך עוד שאלות. יש עוד שאלות.
לענות על שתיהם, ואז אפשר.
יש 2 שאלות. רק את העליונה, השנייה זה לעשות.
Yes, ma'am.
כנראה יש.
Submit. Nice.
Okay. Much higher than I expected, but we are starting good. Okay. So first of all, I would like to start by taking a glimpse to a national perspective on the educational continuum. I'm not going to go into details. It describes the whole education continuum from kindergarten to the job market. And I would like to focus on 2 international assessments that we are doing in Israel, the PISA and the PIAC, both OECD international assessments. In both of them, the results for Israel are low, usually lower than the OECD average, with inequality and a low grades on skills and workforce readiness. And that in turn has likely to influence on our economic productivity. However, what I've discovered that there is no definition of the required skills or the profile of the graduates in each one of the classes. And you begin to see my way of thinking as an engineer. I believe that adapting engineering education can assist us in tackling on a national level these challenges by integrating it to K-12 education. During my talk, I will describe shortly how we use this process at FECA by defining the graduate profile and what we have done in order to implement, what we have done in the educational process at FECA in order to reach with time this profile. When it comes to the academia, it is clear that there are very specific skills that are needed by the industry. In a recent survey regarding skills and experiences that are valued by employers done in the States, 50% of the population stated that they don't see a value in higher education, but 90% of the employers said they see a value as long as they will have skills like communication, ethics, teamwork, independent work, and critical thinking, which in most academic institutes are ranked after knowledge. Another survey done by Abbott, American Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, about a decade ago, when the American industry stated to the academia that the profile of the engineer doesn't fit their needs. This is the result of the survey of more than 1,500 companies. You can see that problem solving and effective communication are the 2 skills that are mostly valued by the American industry. And so the output of the academia and engineering education needed by the industry is completely different. Taking a glimpse at the students that are coming today to the academia, they are also completely different. I'm calling them generation now rather than Y, Z, or any letter, because they are changing constantly. From one side, they are technology-oriented, multitasking, value-driven teamwork, but we discovered that they suffer from problems with language, specifically mathematics. When you want to be an engineer, you need to use the math in order to apply to solve problems. So the students are completely different. As an engineer, I can tell you that if a system, the input has changed and the output has changed, and the system is not changing, it may become irrelevant. So my view is that engineering education, and not only my view, many people around the world think like me, that engineering education in the academia must change in order to fit current students, current methodology of learning, and current industry needs. And by the way, I think that's also true for the academia as a whole. So in another study done by MIT called the Global State of the Art in Engineering Education, it seems that MIT, Stanford, the large Ivy League universities are losing the lead in engineering education. There are emerging leaders, which are usually either new institute or institute that has done a complete reform. Their way was shaped by regional needs or constraints. It can be economic development, or as in our case, a huge lack of engineers. So there is no one solution that fits globally. And they have defined a different vision. When you analyze this different vision, it's usually around putting an emphasis on developing skills and not only knowledge, and a lot of emphasis on student engagement, extracurricular activities led by students, etc. Now, a minute about what we have done in AFECA. We decided that we needed to change. We started by a survey that you can see the results among more than 100 high-tech companies, which were asked, what are the most important skills you feel are needed by a new engineer hired by your company? Large correlation to other surveys like this that have been done in the States, multidisciplinary teamwork, solving problems, creativity, interpersonal communication, and just at the fifth place is using engineering techniques, meaning also in Israel, the high-tech industry, and I can assure you, I spent 15 years in the high-tech industry, we highly value these soft skills, which I'm calling them, by the way, vital skills. You cannot be an excellent engineer in the high-tech industry if you don't have these skills. So we did this survey, and then I'm not going to go over the details, just to give you a picture. This is a result of a year of work of the management of AFECA. We defined the profile of the graduates. Like I said earlier, that at certain levels on the education continuum, there's no definition of the profile of the graduate. On a level of knowledge, yes, but not on a level of skills. This is the definition of the profile of an AFECA graduate, from knowledge to engineering skills, personal skill, language value, and broad knowledge. And now, in order to implement it, we are completely changing the educational process. I won't go into details, but to give you an idea. We're completely changing the curriculum. All our courses are going to have learning outcomes, not only in knowledge, also on skills. It seems that we are studying not only in class, and it was quite surprising for part of my faculty. There's a lot of extracurricular activities at AFECA, project-based learning, basically. We are enabling our faculty to use any sort of innovative pedagogy that they feel like, PBL, flipped classes, gamification, hands-on, whatever they want. And we have currently dozens of courses that are not frontal courses. This is a main reason that moving to Zoom online these days was very difficult, because we didn't move from frontal teaching. We used to have a lot of PBL. which is not easy. At Zoom, we completely modernized all our learning and working spaces. And as a great believer in the education continuum, we are talking directly with the industry and education system, the three sequential phases. But all of this is impossible without building an organizational culture that support the change and accept failure on the way. So this is with regard with what's going in the academia. Why engineering in grade 12 beside of that the letter E appears at the stem? It's a body of knowledge. It's a method for solving problems. It's actually a method for design and creation of product. Much of modern technology is based on SEM. Math and science, as John stated earlier, serve engineering. But on the second hand, this is what we are doing in our first year. Studying math and physics by itself is it's not easy. The engineering provides a context for better understanding of math and science. When we talk about engineering essential qualities in various reports globally, these are the qualities. First of all, it's a systematic approach for problem solving. It's a structured design process. It's multidisciplinary approach. You normally use in teamwork. It's very rare that an engineer works by himself. All projects are multidisciplinary and you need to work with various types of people from various disciplines. Failure as a step for improvement. You fail 90% of the time. The one time that the product works, you continue to the next product. And you have to be aware of social and ethical constraints. Otherwise, the product that you develop may harm yourself, the community, or the world in general. One main issue in engineering education that sometimes is replaced by engineering design is the problem-solving process that can be imitated to any other discipline. When you have a problem, an engineer starts by specifications, define the constraints, and then choose the optimized solution, analyze the trade-offs, the alternatives, build the model, analyze it, and many times iterate around this solution. I strongly believe, and I'm doing it myself, I'm using this process in any aspect of my life. In a recent survey that was published not long ago by the American National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, dealing with building capacity for teaching engineering in K-12 education, these are the four main goals. First of all, develop engineering literacy. You don't have to be an engineer. It's a little bit of the discipline, but mainly the way you think, the way you solve problems. It will definitely improve math and science achievements. It will improve college and career readiness. And in the States, it was written, it's suitable for a small percentage of students and prepare them for matriculation and post-secondary engineering programs. But in our case, it's a much larger population. As far as I recall, this year, almost 20% of the students starting academia started high-tech programs, from software to engineering. That will definitely help them and help our country, which we are lacking a lot of engineers. To summarize, engineering is already part of what we know all of STEM, but it is now the time to put an emphasis on the E. Engineering thinking, which I see it as a culture, is made up of problem solving. It is definitely a platform for developing vital skills that all of us are talking a long time about, but we must do it. You know, we're talking about skills of the 21st century. We are already 20 years in the 21st century. We must do it. And with the great challenges that we are facing, the COVID-19 and additional challenges that we are going to face in the future, we must educate our students and our graduates to have tools to solve problems. This is the main thing that our graduates will have to do in the world. In a conclusion, I would ask your opinion on one more question. Do you think that the post-corona era provides us with a greater opportunity for integrating engineering education in K-12?